imagine being actively hunted, like right through a hostile landscape by these roaring, monstrous bear creatures.
Oh, wow. Yeah, terrifying right from the jump.
Right. But these aren't just wild animals. They are literally gripping forged sabers in their paws.
Saber-wielding bears. I mean, you really can't make that up.
You cannot. And you, as the listener, you're sprinting for your life. You're bleeding heavily from fresh bullet wounds.
Which is such a grounded detail amid all the chaos.
Exactly. And your only protection is this high-tech spacesuit that's like actively dampening the impact of the sword strikes.
So it's absorbing the blows, yeah.
Yeah, but your only hope for survival in this completely chaotic moment, you look down at a futuristic wristwatch and you punch in a tactical coordinate.
But it's not a normal coordinate, right?
No, it's not a string of numbers at all. You press the code for the 12 apostles.
Right, the 12 apostles, just casually on your watch.
Just casually. And instantly, these orbital blue satellite lasers just rain down from the sky, completely obliterating the creatures into ash.
It's such a wild image to start with.
It really is. So welcome to the deep dive. Today we are taking you into an incredibly dense, singular excerpt of a narrative from a soldier named Samuel.
Yeah, it's a really intense piece of writing.
It is, and our mission today is to dissect this high-octane text for you, to figure out how it so violently and frankly beautifully collides standard futuristic science fiction tropes with heavy apocalyptic religious imagery.
Which is a collision you do not see very often.
No, you don't. It is a wildly disorienting text, and we are going to tear it apart to see how its engine works. So, okay, let's unpack this, because the author doesn't bother with a gentle prologue here.
No, not at all. There's no hand-holding.
Right. We are dropped headfirst into a world where the rules of reality seem utterly broken.
Utterly broken.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a deliberate shattering of genre conventions, and it's designed to disorient you from the very first syllable.
Disorient is definitely the right word for it.
Yeah, because the narrative immediately establishes a hybrid universe. Like, we are sourced to process biology, primitive weaponry, futuristic armor, modern ballistics, and divine orbital strikes, all in the span of a single breath.
It's sensory overload, honestly.
It is. The author is demanding that we just, entirely abandon our preconceived notions of how a fictional universe is supposed to operate.
Yeah, the structural collision here is just wild. Reading that opening sequence, I mean, it feels exactly like watching a gritty, neon-soaked cyberpunk video game crash headfirst into a Sunday school lesson.
That is a perfect analogy, actually.
Well, thanks, because I really struggle with the actual physical mechanics of this universe.
Like the logistics of it.
Yeah, exactly. How does a futuristic piece of technology, like an orbital defense network, utilize the 12 apostles as a targeting mechanism?
Right. How does that actually work in practice?
Exactly. Is it a voice command? Is it like 12 literal buttons with their faces on them on his watch?
Oh, man, little icons of Peter and John.
Right. It just implies that the spiritual realm has been entirely digitized and weaponized.
What's fascinating here is how the text completely refuses to separate the theological from the technological.
Yeah, they're just smashed together.
Totally. I mean, in conventional storytelling, religion operates as a belief system, right? A philosophy or a moral framework.
Right. It's abstract.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And technology, on the other hand, is a physical tool. But in Samuel's universe, the theology is the technology.
Oh, the theology is the technology. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, because the 12 apostles are not merely historical figures or spiritual ideals anymore. They are a literal, functional frequency.
Like a radio dial.
Yes. They are the access code that interfaces with a devastating weapons system. It suggests the universe where faith has been literally codified into software.
That is so crazy to think about. It makes the act of calling down those lasers less of a desperate prayer and more of a tactical military strike using religious iconography as the encryption key.
An encryption key, exactly.
But, what I find even more compelling is how grounded the pain is in this opening sequence.
The physical reality of it.
Yeah. Despite the sheer absurdity of saber-wielding bears and apostolic lasers, Samuel is actively bleeding from bullet wounds.
Right. The physical vulnerability is just crucial to the world building here.
It really centers it.
It does. Because the spacesuit dampens the blows of the sabers,
Right.
which gives us this very real physics equation of force and resistance, right? But the suit is failing.
Yeah, the bullets have penetrated.
Exactly. And this grounds the surreal nature of the threat in very visceral physical suffering. Like, Samuel is not a floating, invulnerable spirit fighting in some ethereal realm.
He's not just a ghost or an angel.
No, he is a flesh-and-blood soldier. He's sweating and bleeding inside a compromised spacesuit, forced to call down holy fire just to survive the next 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's incredible pacing.
Yeah.
But we barely have time to process the fact that Samuel has successfully vaporized these creatures before the narrative just rips the victory away from him entirely.
Right, the victory is incredibly short-lived.
It's so short-lived. The laser strike clears the immediate threat, but it basically acts like a massive flare, drawing in something significantly worse.
The shift in tone here is incredibly aggressive.
Oh, it gave me whiplash.
Right. The narrative transitions from a high-stakes sci-fi survival sequence directly into this atmosphere of just suffocating supernatural horror.
Suffocating is the right word.
Yeah, the immediate arrival of these new enemies signifies that the orbital strike was just a localized tactical win. It was definitely not a strategic victory.
No, definitely not. And the nature of this new threat is where I really want to pause and push back on the logistical reality of this world.
Okay, let's hear it.
So Samuel is suddenly surrounded, but not by aliens or, more bear creatures. He's surrounded by black Humvees.
Standard military vehicles.
Exactly. And outstep these soulless black-eyed soldiers who are physically bearing the mark of the beast.
The very heavy biblical reference there.
It's huge. So they violently capture him. And this is the detail that really trips me up. They get on a two-way radio to contact Jezebel.
Yeah, the radio comms.
Right. And she shrieks through the comms to bring Samuel to her for a special surprise. And then they bind him using belts made of human bone and throw him into a helicopter and fly him for an entire day.
I can see why that tripped you up. You're hung up on the juxtaposition of the supernatural and the mechanical.
Absolutely I am. The logistics make zero sense if you look at them through a traditional lens.
How so?
Well, you have the ultimate forces of ancient, visceral evil, right? Literal black-eyed demons answering to Jezebel.
Who is, perhaps one of the most infamous figures of ancient biblical wickedness.
Exactly. But how are they mobilizing? They aren't flying on leathery wings or teleporting through shadows. They are using aviation fuel.
Right, they're driving black Humvees.
They are checking radio frequencies. Why does an ancient demonic force need a motor pool? The blending of mundane military transport with this profound demonic terror creates a very specific, unsettling dissonance.
It does create dissonance, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, the author is actually utilizing a highly sophisticated narrative technique to modernize dread.
Modernize dread. Tell me more about that.
Well, think about how we traditionally conceptualize ancient evil. It often feels distant, right? Like mythological, almost abstract.
Sure, like a dragon in a cave or something.
Yeah. A demon in a fiery pit is scary, but it's fundamentally removed from our daily reality.
That makes sense.
But when you place those exact same black-eyed, soulless entities inside a standard-issue black Humvee, when you have them coordinating their movements over encrypted tactical radio...
Oh, it makes it so much more real.
Exactly. The threat instantly becomes immediate. It transforms a mythological concept into a modern military occupation that's orchestrated by hell itself.
Wow, okay. I definitely see your point there. It gives the evil this terrifying bureaucracy.
The terrifying bureaucracy, that's exactly it.
Yeah, like they aren't just chaotic monsters lashing out blindly in the dark. They have flight itineraries. They have communication protocols.
They're organized.
Highly organized. But then you have the bone belts. They are using high-tech helicopters, sure, but they are securing prisoners with human remains.
Right, it's this constant push and pull between the hypermodern and the ancient.
It's so jarring.
It is, but the bone belts serve as a psychological anchor. Like, no matter how much technology this enemy utilizes, their core nature is still firmly rooted in death, desecration, and absolute barbarism.
That is a very dark anchor.
Very dark. And consider the destination of this helicopter flight, too.
Oh, right, the flight.
Yeah, they fly for a full day toward a location described as a Red Manor, which is situated in a valley entirely surrounded by tooth-like mountains.
The geography itself is predatory. I mean, a valley of tooth-like mountains implies a literal mouth.
Exactly. The environment is a direct manifestation of the demonic forces controlling it.
It's like the land itself is evil.
Yeah. Mountains, in traditional literature, they often represent majesty or a challenge or a pathway to the divine.
Right, ascending the mountain to find enlightenment.
But here, they are corrupted into jagged teeth. And a valley dictates a descent, a movement downward into a confined space.
Like being swallowed.
Precisely. The Red Manor at the center isn't just a building, Functionally, it operates as the beating heart or perhaps the digestive tract of this geographical beast. Samuel isn't just being transported to a prison, he's being swallowed by the landscape.
Gosh, that is so bleak. Which brings us to the most psychologically complex moment of the text, really.
The arrival at the manor.
Yeah. Samuel is brought to this red manor. He's bound by bone. He's still bleeding inside his suit, surrounded by these soulless soldiers, and Jezebel is waiting to deliver her special surprise.
Just a horrific scenario.
Unimaginable, and the narrative explicitly states that fears try to take over his mind. It is a moment of total paralyzing despair.
Which is completely understandable given the circumstances.
Right. But then we get a massive thematic pivot. Samuel hears the words, codename Samson, in his mind, and he actually smiles.
It is a stunning image of defiance. I mean, in the absolute epicenter of dread, a single phrase acts as a psychological bulwark against the fear.
Yeah, he hears codename Samson, and suddenly he remembers the hidden C4 explosives that his captors entirely failed to search him for.
A massive oversight on their
But
part.
the huge oversight, and as this realization hits him, a vision fills his mind. He sees the, quote, victims of religions being set free.
That line is so loaded.
It is a massive paradox that we really have to pull apart, because Samuel is adopting the namesake of Samson, right?
Yeah.
The famous biblical judge whose most iconic act was a suicide mission.
Right, physically pushing apart the pillars of a temple to crush his enemies and himself under the rubble.
Exactly. So Samuel is taking this extreme, violent, historically religious motif of martyrdom, and he is using it to enact a vision of setting the victims of religions free.
The irony is suffocating.
It really is.
But the irony is the entire point. It
Right.
forces us to examine the narrator's state of mind.
Right.
He's trapped in the belly of the beast, about to be subjected to unfathomable torture.
Right.
And where does he find his comfort? Not in a prayer for rescue,
No.
but in the cold, hard reality of military-grade plastic explosives.
Yeah, the C4.
He is fusing tactical demolition with spiritual liberation. The author is suggesting that in this universe, physical action and spiritual outcome are inextricably linked.
Okay, but I have to push back on Samuel's self-perception here for a second.
Fair enough.
Is he actually a liberator? Like, he's having this grand vision of setting victims free, but he is doing it by detonating a bomb hidden on his person.
He's becoming a weapon.
Right. He is utilizing the exact same militarized religious fervor that his enemies are using. It feels like true emancipation and more like he's just the opposing faction in an endless holy war, you know?
That's a really valid reading.
Like he's fighting religious oppression with religious detonation.
This raises an important question, though. What does the phrase victims of religions actually mean within the context of this specific universe?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because we've already established that the 12 apostles are a targeting code for orbital lasers.
Right. We're not talking about church bake sales here.
No, religion, in Samuel's reality, is not a quiet personal belief system. It is a very real, heavily armed power structure.
Wow. Okay.
So the victims he's envisioning might not be individuals who are spiritually misled, right?
Right.
They are likely the literal civilian casualties of this holy technological arms race.
Oh, wow. The collateral damage of the lasers and the demons.
Exactly. So Samuel doesn't see his impending explosion as an act of terrorism. In his mind, it is a surgical strike designed to cripple the leadership of this oppressive regime.
That's a really important distinction to make. He views the C4 as a tool of abolition.
Yes, precisely.
And let's look at why he even has the C4 in the first place, right? The
Right.
black-eyed soldiers, these terrifying agents of darkness with the mark of the beast, they completely failed at a basic military pat-down.
It's almost comical.
It is. They missed the explosives entirely.
It highlights the arrogance of the supernatural forces. How so? Well, they are so singularly focused on the spiritual and psychological torture, like Jezebel's special surprise, that they completely overlook the most mundane physical threat imaginable.
They didn't even check his pockets.
Right. They expect to break his spirit, so they don't bother thoroughly checking him for chemical explosives. It's a fatal blind spot born of sheer hubris.
Hubris, definitely. And that single blind spot leads us directly into the climax of this excerpt, which completely upends everything we've read so far.
Everything.
Yeah. Here's where it gets really interesting. Samuel executes codename Samson. The text tells us that the pulsating center of fears, which seems to refer to the Red Manor, or perhaps the physical manifestation of Jezebel herself, explodes into a massive mushroom cloud.
A mushroom cloud. The scale is just massive.
Massive. And this explosion doesn't just destroy the building. It violently sucks the Red Manor and Jezebel deep into the earth, directly into the lake of fire.
Right, straight down.
Yeah, and the text explicitly notes that the smoke of their torment will rise forever. And then, in the very next breath, instantly, Samuel ascends.
A complete 180.
Totally. He ascends into brightness, he is reunited with his family, and the final image of the narrative is him looking at a glowing white stone held in Jesus' hand.
The narrative whiplash is executed flawlessly here.
Oh, flawless.
The transition from apocalyptic destruction to serene intimacy is almost jarring in its speed.
Jarring is putting it mildly. I mean, think about the sensory experience of reading this.
It's intense.
It is like you are sitting in a theater watching an ear-splitting, hyper-violent IMAX action movie, right?
Yeah, explosions everywhere.
Yes, and then you just step through a side door and instantly find yourself standing inside a perfectly quiet, brightly lit, completely silent sanctuary.
That's exactly what it feels like.
It goes from absolute maximum sensory overload, like explosions, screaming, fire, to absolute still peace in the span of a single comma.
It's brilliant. Let's break down the mechanics of this climax, though, because the cause and effect relationship here is fascinating.
Okay, break it down.
The sequence begins with a mushroom cloud. In our cultural consciousness, a mushroom cloud is the ultimate symbol of human technological destruction and indiscriminate annihilation, right?
Absolutely. It's the atom bomb.
Right. But look at what the mushroom cloud actually achieves in this universe. It acts as a localized key that rips open the earth to deposit the enemy into the lake of fire.
Right, which is a very specific ancient concept.
Yes, of eternal damnation pulled straight from the book of Revelation.
Yeah.
So the modern weapon enacts the ancient judgment. The C4 is the physical catalyst for a spiritual execution.
Man, that is a terrifying concept.
It really is.
The idea that you can just trigger a biblical apocalypse with a military detonator.
Furthermore, the text emphasizes the permanence of this act. It says, the smoke of their torment would rise forever.
Forever.
It is absolute finality for the forces of evil. But contrast that agonizing eternal destruction with Samuel's immediate reality.
Right, his ascension.
Yeah. He doesn't suffer in the blast. He ascends. The violence below him is absolute, but he is instantaneously removed from it, entering what the text simply calls the brightness.
The economy of language there is striking.
Very striking.
Because after pages of dense, highly specific visual descriptions, the saber-wielding bears, the blue satellite lasers, bone belts, tooth-like mountains, the author suddenly strips all the adjectives away.
All of them?
It's just brightness. And the imagery becomes deeply intimate. His reward for this horrific ordeal isn't a medal or a promotion or a parade.
No, it's family.
It is family. It's the quiet human comfort of the people he loves. And then the author gives us that incredibly specific, enigmatic final detail, the glowing white stone in Jesus' hand.
Yeah, the white stone. That is arguably the most complex symbol in the entire text.
Really? Why is that?
Well, it requires us to dig into historical and biblical context a bit. In ancient Roman courts, juries would cast stones to render a verdict.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. A black stone meant condemnation. A white stone meant acquittal and innocence.
Wow, okay.
It was also used as a token of admission to banquets or exclusive events. Giving someone a white stone meant they were validated, they were welcomed, they belonged.
Oh, that adds so much layer to it.
Right. After the relentless, chaotic trial of his capture, and after the absolute moral ambiguity of detonating a bomb to kill his enemies, the white stone serves as the ultimate symbol of quiet, divine validation.
It functions as the period at the end of a very loud, very violent sentence.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Well, it's true. All the noise is suddenly just gone. The roaring bears, the blue lasers, the static of the tactical radios, the hum of the helicopter, the deafening roar of the mushroom cloud, it all just evaporates.
It all vanishes.
Yeah, and we are left with just a glowing stone and brightness. It implies that all of the complex technological armor of the world, like the spacesuit, the Humvees, it was all just temporary scaffolding.
It resolves the narrative tension by entirely discarding the physical world.
Right, none of it matters anymore.
Exactly. The bullet wounds, the bone belts, they all belong to a realm of suffering that is no longer relevant. The ascension and the white stone represent a transition into a space where physical mechanics, both technological and demonic, simply cease to exist.
This has been an astonishingly dense piece of world building to navigate.
Very dense.
I mean, in just a few paragraphs, the author has dragged us through a universe that defies every standard convention of storytelling.
Every single one.
We started with a bleeding soldier in a spacesuit calling down orbital satellite lasers to vaporize saber-wielding bears.
It feels like a lifetime ago.
It really does. And then we were kidnapped by an organized demonic military force driving Humvees and flown to a geographically carnivorous mountain range.
The tooth-like mountains, yeah.
And we ended with a strategic suicide bombing that triggered the eternal damnation of a biblical villain, which then resulted in a quiet, glowing ascension.
It truly is a masterclass in narrative efficiency.
It is.
Every noun, every verb, and every juxtaposition is doing incredibly heavy lifting to establish a reality where the boundaries between science fiction, military thriller, and religious eschatology simply do not exist.
They're all blurred.
They're all exactly the same thing.
So what does this all mean? We've traced Samuel's violent path from the chaotic dirt of the battlefield all the way to the bright stillness of his ascension. But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, one that builds directly on the mechanics of this text we've just spent time dissecting.
It's a lot to process.
It is a lot. Consider the stark, almost unsettling contrast at the heart of this narrative. Look at the absolute earth-shattering technological violence that was strictly required to defeat evil in this story.
The extremes of it.
Yeah, the extremes. The orbital lasers, the military-grade C4, the literal world-ending mushroom cloud. And then contrast that immense kinetic energy with the purely quiet, peaceful reward at the very end.
The white stone.
Right, a glowing stone. Brightness. A quiet family reunion. What does this fundamentally imply about the narrator's worldview?
That's the real question.
It is. In a universe where evil is so entrenched that it rides in armored vehicles and operates a military hierarchy, says true, lasting peace only ever arrive after total devastating destruction.
Wow.
Right. We look at that final image of the bright sanctuary and the white stone, and it feels like a relief. But ask yourself, can that quiet sanctuary even exist without the deafening explosion that preceded it? Or is the peace in this universe entirely dependent on the willingness to pull the detonator?
A heavy thought to end on.
It is, but it's something to think about as you unpack the boundaries of the stories you consume. Until next time, thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.